Okay, so we're doing the Spirit of the Law. I'm Gimel, Aleph, starting the Lachas of Mir Akum. Why one's allowed to ask the guy, do Malacha, one's allowed to do labor for Jew. Siman Gimel, Be'eza Oifin Mutu Lasis, Kodim Shabbos Malacha. In what manner is it permitted to give a non-Jew halachic labor to do before Shabbos, with Hashil, with Haskell Kaden, and to loan or rent him vessels? Aleph. Also, l'haniach l'goy sheyasem meleches yisrael b'Shabbos. You're not allowed to let the goy do a Jew's melecha on Shabbos. It's a flaw pasuk. This Kitzur is not a absolute it's not a deraisa of any means, but there's a pasuk that seems to imply it. So they said, like, this pasuk is kind of a Siman or a Pipi Ritva. It comes out of this pasuk. It does teach this halacha, but it's not meant to teach it to be deraisa. It's meant to teach it to be like a smachta kind of that should have the bar halachas. Whichever way you want to learn it, there's a pasuk that seems to imply this. It says, "B'chol malacha lo ye'aseh." No labor should be done. So it means even should be done through somebody else that has this kind of implication. The mashma feel like the goy applied even through someone else, a non-Jew. The more, so the goy has the malacha be'er Shabbos. The person gave a goy malacha before Shabbos. Pisha goy oisem Shabbos. Even the goy has on Shabbos, generally speaking, it's quite likely to that it's permitted. But only in specific circumstances which he's going to describe now. Aleph, first of all, Shagoy Yikach Tzachayim to base Israel, Chodim B'Shabbos, Eloi B'Shabbos. Number one, the non-Jew has to take the item from the house of a Jew before Shabbos and not on Shabbos. Okay, so we're up to, Chaim, okay, the book of Chaim explains this in a very, very beautiful manner. So first of all, just in general, this if we didn't do the Kurchaim, we did the Shulchan here actually. The Shulchan explains that when a person tells a non-Jew to do malacha, that's on a simple level, like the Shulchan says. It's because, even though there's a lot of xeris, a lot of different decrees, generally speaking, we only make one decree, not so many different decrees. We're not all different conditions, we're only talking about a rabbinic problem, so what's the big deal? So the Shulchan explains, he says, the problem is that the minute a person is accustomed to letting a non-Jew do his halachic labor for him, and he likes things just so, he likes his garden trimmed, he likes whatever he likes to do, he likes it done. So if a non-Jew can't make it, he'll forget a Shabbos and do it, or he maybe won't forget a Shabbos and do it, he could have a problem. So that's on a simple level. But Shulchan explains that in times to come, brings to the Medrash. Shabbos represents the next world. So brings to the Medrash says that when the king and queen are having a conversation one with the other, nobody would get in the way, in the middle of their, one's near one thing, between the thrones, I don't know, whatever they're saying, so no one's going to walk by when they're obviously conversing, because it's an astounding chutzpah. How dare you walk in front of, interrupt, confuse the king and the queen. So the Medrash says, it's the same thing. Shabbos Kodesh is our connection to Hashem. When we connect to Hashem, that's the next world. How we connect to Hashem. So Shabbos Kodesh nobody who's not shaykh to this order of Shabbos can get in the way. So that means at a simple level, Shabbos represents the previous. So that comes down to Shabbos represents the person who's previous is connected to Shabbos. Previous is connection. Because I'm ready to Hashem Shmuel actually, not sure of him, which I'm saying, also this thing of what Shabbos is about. Shabbos, so what does Shabbos mean? He says, he brings the Zohar Kodesh, very interesting. The Zohar on the one hand, the one place says, the Zohar says that there is absolutely no tshuva for a certain very serious avera, which we say to be Klali for, Shem Yishmor. And it says that, then in another place the Zohar says, no, there's a tshuva, but it's a hard tshuva. It's very, kind of like you think, the Zohar is very safer, it's very, very deep and wondrous safer. But it doesn't seem clear which is it. Is it this, is it that? So Yeshiva Shmuel says a very wondrous thing. He says, for these young, when you deal with bliss, he said, you really can't, just a regular tshuva is not going to do it. A person lost out on something very, very, very precious and important. Regular tshuva is not going to help. He says, a person, if he needs to make an absolutely fresh start. He said, because if you make an absolute fresh start, you say, okay, that's it. I'm gone. My old self is gone, really gone. I destroyed everything. Start again. He said, it can't be no worse than a ger. A guy who's a ger, who's not Jewish, who decides to do tshuva, and he goes in the mikvah. So that works to make him like a finished. Then he's totally fresh and new. But he can't be any it's no worse than a Jew. Nosson says even more. Nosson says a Jew for sure is more, especially if he does it more than once. He's not coming from such a distant place. He's a non-Jew. His shoulders, again, we said it gets in the way. The king of the queen. We're the king of the queen. He's totally connected to the king in a deep, deep place. And here, what is he doing? You're not there. What the Moral says, what does that mean? He says, well, he's also a human being, of course. He said, but there's a the nefesh eloki, the devil elokim, the Jew. It's kind of like his neshama is sort of activated. It's like it's emotional to understand. It's like you have something which needs to be. You have a cell phone, right? Today's the terms. You have a cell phone. It's locked, right? See, a cell phone is locked. If you want to get a certain SIM card in there, it's not going to work. It doesn't work. You have to open the phone. Open the phone. Take any SIM card. So it's more broad. It's the same as a word. If you're in a certain way, when you want to have your receptors open to the mitzvah of the Torah, most of the mitzvah of the Torah, the only way of doing it is by being opened up, and the Shon has to be activated and alive, and it can receive in this way in the Torah. Other it says going to keep Shabbos, he did a very serious. It was a mistake. Whatever that can mean. Yeah. What do you mean? What do you? If you wanted gerus, you're welcome. Anyone is welcome to do gerus. Not a problem. Everyone's welcome. But maybe even a mullet, it's not so clear. What about how does a mullet like fits a shaila? What's a mullet? Is that person that should say no? It's a whole. What about a mullet? What is a mullet? Also a whole question. Mullet, let me say from is really a person so religious and is anti-helping other people and against any goodness for its own sake. And again, this he's such a good job that he totally destroyed any good, which doesn't exist anymore today. And Hashem says, gives you an economic, you have to do what he says. But today we don't have any beginnings of understanding. Even the Dark Ages, maybe we get to sort of get a glimmering of this. Doesn't mean not every person was considered a mullah, but almost nobody was a mullah. One particular tribe that was very tough. That was what they managed it. They did it. Yeah, that the person go through the world with nothing. The Ramchal says, if you don't have any real connection, sincere desire for good, really that you did, or some action or some yearning at least, then there's nothing for the neshama to live on in the next world. It just dies. So the Jew can't be such a thing. Because again, there's something open, there's an openness, there's a deep connection to Hashem in there, which is expressed, like the Gemara also says, because of all our achievements, the person wants to achieve. He's something driving. There's a drive pushing him. That drive is what is the kind of the Tzaddik came of a Jew. It's something totally different. That's why what's stuck in any nation you can imagine, more achievements, because there's something pushing. It's used for positive, it's used for negative, it's used for something in the middle. It's the person Jew, God forbid, takes us ways of crime, he's worse than any non-Jew, because he has that koch, he's misusing it. The person has to be very, very careful to know. That's what we used to bring from the morale. So that's about that's what Shabbos Kodesh has deep connection to Hashem. So the Shem Shmuel says that when a person makes this mistake in terms of bris, he's really destroying everything. Everything's being destroyed. He said, but if you make a totally fresh start, it's like you make a fresh start. So he said, you're no worse. Rabbi says, no, you're much better than a non-Jew who's now far. The non-Jew he becomes a ger and he makes a fresh start. So then, great, he's like you, but like when he's from a far place, now he became one. Now he's not anymore. He's also the queen. He's connected to Hashem in a very special way. He's opened up in special ways. His Hashem was opened in special ways, and he's just where I was. So you're starting again. Can't be less than a non-Jew who converts. The Shemesh Shmuel says you have to make a totally fresh start. It's very hard. Fresh start doesn't mean it doesn't work that fresh start that but you say, oh, I'm starting again. Fresh start means really starting totally fresh and new. Totally, you have nothing. You're gone and you finished. Of course,
you were just born.
Yeah, you feel just born. Of course, Rabbi Nachman, of course, changes completely around on his head. Shemesh Shmuel says, oh, it's very hard. And like, just complete the fourth one. So I'm not saying about what Nachman says. This is very difficult, but on Shabbos Kodesh, at least, the whole world is renewed. It's connected on Kabbalah. You can really make a new start. And that's what Shabbos is. That's why Shovim, one of the biggest answers is starting again. At least on Shabbos Kodesh, and still Shabbos Kodesh, that's a Shemesh Shmuel. But, and he says, that's Messiah, because it too doesn't work if you don't make a new fresh start, really real deal. Not just fresh start. You say, oh, I'm starting again. You really feel it. You really know it. Because the true is hard, because making this fresh start is very difficult. Of course, the Shabbos you could do it. That's what the Shemesh Shmuel says. But Rav Nosson, they do the other. They turn it on its head. Very, very interesting, as usual. You say, well, Shemesh Shmuel said this is very difficult, but maybe the Shabbos will get it. We have to really work on it. Rav Nosson said, no. You're supposed to be focused and trying and yearning and working towards this goal all the time. Not just b'shoivim when you remember it and say, oh, it's done again, but it's really hard. No, you work on it, you try for it, This is what Nosson says. You keep making all those efforts. Even if you don't get there the way you should, you don't absolutely. Those efforts in and of themselves, they're true mehava. That's true mehava. When you're not moving, you're so hard, you're forcing it. That in itself is showing your love for God. What are you doing this for? Why are you killing yourself so hard? No. He says, focus on this, do this, and you'll get there. That's why Nachman said, whenever you speak about me, a person with me, he's like teach another. Same language as said about a ger. So you say, well, you speak about Nachman, I don't know, you meet people, they've even said Nachman a lot, and you don't see the newness, the freshness there. But there was a certain Yidden called the Radil Hager, actually he was a ger. And, the Holocaust, there were a lot of terrible tragedies. His life was also a tragedy. He married Jewish, he had Jewish children, and he was Jewish. And when the Nazis came, I guess he was like a good guy, they liked him. And he had become Jewish, no one held it against him personally because he was such a good guy.
He was already a guy?
Long before, he had a wife and children. So the Nazis took his wife and children, but they sort of covered up for him. So he said, no, I want to go also. I'm also Jewish, you take him, wherever they go. He said, no, you're one of us. You're a good guy. You know where to go. They're not taking the good places.
Wow.
Your wife and kids, yeah, sorry. They're those Nazi Jews.
Not
but you're a good guy. So he survived. He made it there. Yisrael, he was an old age home, like 80 or whatever, an older man. No children anymore because they were all killed in the Holocaust. Wife killed in the Holocaust. One son, that was the reality then. That he lived was a miracle. Usually the ger they threw out also. What's the difference? That was what they said. Okay, maybe he had important people in his family who took care of him from when he was a good. Whatever it was, they didn't let him. They hit him, and whatever they did, they made sure he was saved. Fine. So he was in the old age home. He was in the old age home because he really couldn't live alone. He was already very, very old, and it was very, very difficult for him. It was halfway, not there exactly. It was difficult. So a few breaths said to Omar, they're not again. He learned about it. Oh, let's go visit him. They went to visit him. Didn't again.
Such an unusual thing back then?
Yeah, to have survived. The older man from Europe was unfortunately unusual. That was because everyone was killed. But anyway, human in general, the Rebbe says through certain person in Europe, there are ways that when a person does really things are happening, a person doing what he should do, it makes tikkunim that people do gears. And there's a whole town that did gears. There's like a lot of gears going on in Uman. It was very, very strange. Well, not so strange when you consider what he said, but it looked very amazing because there were no gears. Yeah, there were a lot of people doing gears. They gave one a bris, they made a suit. It was very interesting. Little towns out there.
These days?
Huh?
Many cases these days?
Today we see a lot of gay most.
There's one guy who lives right with the.
I don't know, maybe. I don't know. Like, how many people are in Uman except for Rosh Hashanah? That's
one guy.
People. It's not the same as having old din the whole time. What are you saying?
No, there's one guy who lives by the cave, and the house is right next to the cave. It became a ger.
Yeah.
One of those.
Also, that was him. That was his. It was him. But the guy bought the house. He was.
Oh really?
That's his. He was the man. That's why he was the. He was
a breast over?
He was a breast over. Sure he was. Eventually, someone else took it over. It's a whole mindset. But anyway, so they went to talk to him. They started speaking about Rabbi Nachman. And so he woke up. he was uplifted, he was somebody totally different. And that was a real over. Like, really, when you realize that means taking the Eitzers, going to the Eitzers, going to the Rebbe, you're supposed to change you. You need to say it, oh yeah, just say this word. It also works, but you're supposed to try to connect the Eitzers to the holiness, to the purity, to the uplift. That's what he's trying to get to. So that's right now we're turning it around. So anyway, getting back to this, say with the Shulchan, being by Gimel. The idea is that Shabbos Kodesh is this deep connection to Hashem. That's when it's revealed. That the next world, what's going to be the Bein Haba, which is the next world. That's when it's revealed. So a non-Jew can't get in the way. That's what the Mentor says. Now Shulchan says when you do these halachas that we're learning now, there are many conditions when a non-Jew can't do labor, when he can't do halachic labor. He says that is a reflection of what is a little bit. It does get in the way. If a non-Jew, and again, because like the Shulchan Aruch says, here there's already at least a little bit of a problem that we're worried. Maybe the guy went to malacha himself. Maybe it's going to weaken his Shabbos observance. Whatever the pashtup shot is, maybe the chassid is. It's because that's what gets in the way. That's this non-Jew doing malacha for you. This way gets in the way. So you have to be very careful. It has to be very, very, very careful that the non-Jew shouldn't get in your way. He has to be out of your house, for example. Can't be in your house. He's doing malacha for you. Your house is picked up on Shabbos. The whole Shabbos table, the Six Shabbos, so the Ramak says, 6 Shabbos songs, tells you entire, the whole table, everything, all the deep, the spiritual, the whole house is going up, the whole table is being uplifted. So what? Then on Jew, the malach on your house, for you. Even if it's a halachically permitted theoretically, you told him to paint my house, I don't care where, and he comes in and he paints it, it's not allowed. People will say, oh, he told John to paint his walls today. Not allowed. So that gets in the way of the king and the queen. Where the queen, connected to Hashem in the deepest place. That's revealing the deepest things to Hashem. And that's, of course, the Bechina of really starting new fresh. That's what Shabbos Kodesh is about. That's what we're trying to access. Hashem says, Mizocher, to the aura of Shabbos Kodesh, to really reveal who we really are and keep making a new start. Like what happens every second, we made a totally new start. Every breath was a totally new start. Hashem says, Mizocher, to connect to these old auras, do true tshuva.